Hello, everyone. Welcome to the U.S. Immigration Hub News. Something unprecedented just happened. The U.S. Supreme Court has handed down a historic immigration ruling that is set to reshape the legal landscape. And it all starts this September, 2025. Whether you're an immigrant, a citizen, a business owner, or just someone trying to understand the future of America's immigration system, what unfolds next could impact families, communities, and the economy in ways we've never seen before. So what exactly happened? The ruling came after months of legal battles, public debate, and political tension. The Supreme Court, in a 5-4 decision, has upheld a sweeping new policy that significantly expands federal authority over immigration enforcement, while simultaneously restricting how individual states can intervene. It's a constitutional milestone, and its implications are massive. At the heart of the ruling is the question of who controls immigration enforcement. The federal government alone, or can states take matters into their own hands? In recent years, states like Texas, Arizona, and Florida had passed increasingly strict immigration laws that went far beyond federal guidelines. These laws allowed state police to detain undocumented immigrants, mandated local cooperation with ICE, and even impose state-level penalties on employers who hire undocumented workers. Supporters argued these laws were necessary to secure borders and protect communities. Opponents said they created chaos, encouraged racial profiling, and violated federal authority. The Supreme Court has now weighed in, and their decision is clear. Immigration is the sole domain of the federal government. States can no longer implement or enforce independent immigration policies that conflict with federal law. This overturns several state laws and directly affects how immigration will be handled starting this September. So, what changes in September 2025? First, all state-level immigration enforcement policies that conflict with federal law must be repealed or suspended. This includes laws that empower state or local police to arrest individuals solely for immigration violations. Police departments in states with aggressive immigration laws will now be required to shift their focus away from immigration enforcement and back toward federal cooperation protocols only. Second, immigration detainers and ICE cooperation will change dramatically. Local jails and law enforcement agencies will no longer be mandated to hold immigrants beyond their scheduled release dates without a federal warrant. This will prevent many of the extended detentions that have previously triggered lawsuits and civil rights complaints. Third, thousands of pending deportation cases may be re-reviewed or dismissed if they were initiated under now invalidated state-level laws. Immigration attorneys across the country are preparing to file motions for case reviews, and immigration courts could see a wave of appeals. If you or someone you know is currently in removal proceedings based on a state-initiated arrest, now is the time to speak with legal counsel. Fourth, the ruling indirectly impacts DACA recipients and mixed-status families. While the court didn't directly rule on DACA, its emphasis on federal primacy means the Biden administration or any future administration has renewed authority to expand protections through executive action without interference from states. We could see new policy announcements as early as this fall, especially with the 2026 election cycle heating up. Fifth, businesses employing immigrant workers will also face a new compliance environment. States that had their own E-Verify mandates or local labor enforcement laws will need to align with federal standards. Employers should review their hiring practices and documentation processes immediately to avoid penalties or audits under shifting federal enforcement guidelines. Now, here's what this means for everyday people. If you are an immigrant, documented or undocumented, living in a state that had strict enforcement laws, September brings new protections. You may no longer be targeted by local police just for your immigration status. This doesn't mean you're immune from federal enforcement, but it does mean your rights are better protected. If you're a U.S. citizen living in a mixed-status household, you'll likely see less fear and fewer raids in your community. Families can begin to feel safer, and communities that were once under constant pressure may start to rebuild trust with local authorities. If you work in immigration law, advocacy, or public policy, get ready. The game has changed. Legal strategies must evolve, and advocacy efforts now need to shift from fighting state laws to holding federal agencies accountable. And if you're watching this as a voter or concerned citizen wondering what comes next, here's the truth. This ruling is just the beginning. With presidential elections looming and immigration remaining a deeply divisive issue, this ruling will likely fuel political campaigns, protests, and new legislation. It's not an end, it's a reset. Now more than ever, understanding your rights, staying informed, and seeking qualified legal guidance is essential. Misinformation is already flooding social media, and many people don't know what this ruling really means. That's why sharing this information is so important. To recap, the Supreme Court has ruled that only the federal government can set and enforce immigration policy. Starting September 2025, states must roll back their own conflicting immigration laws. Local law enforcement's role in immigration will be reduced. Deportation cases based on invalidated state arrests may be reopened. Protections for immigrant communities are expanding, but federal enforcement remains. Business owners must review employment practices to comply with federal law. This ruling shifts power back to Washington, and the political battle over immigration is far from over. This decision marks one of the most significant changes in U.S. immigration law in decades. Whether it brings unity or more division will depend on how the federal government handles this new authority and how we as a nation respond. Thank you for watching.